Lillian Burkart, thank you so much for being on Flute Unscripted.
You are very welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's really special for us too, because I think we usually feature predominantly artists, flutists, and we've had a Linda Mark, who's a pianist, a famous pianist, but we haven't had any makers yet. So it's really exciting for me to speak with a flutist and flute maker.
Well, here we go.
Yeah, I wanted to learn how you got started on this track. You actually intended to become a performer and a teacher, but I love that you said you saw an opportunity and a demand for repairs, and so you pursued training. You actually started at Powell, where you made bodies, keys, piccolos. You also padded instruments. So what fascinated you at that time about this line of work?
The line of work being a flute maker, I really did not know at the time what I was joining, what I was coming into. I truly wanted to learn repair and add that to my bag of tricks, my repertoire, and to kind of complete a well-rounded profile, which we flutists mostly need to do. And so in seeking repairs, I came into this fantastic world of flute making where I could see these many more opportunities than just repairing the flute. And once I began that journey, I truly never looked back to teaching or to performing, yes, but to teaching, which I loved dearly. It seemed less significant once the flute world, making world opened up to me. So that was a pleasant surprise that I walked into and began to explore with vigor.
Yeah. Well, how did you kind of get started? And then in the 80s, you and your husband at the time, Jim Phelan, founded your own company. What is it like to kind of kick off your own flute business from the ground up and go into business with a significant other? What challenges did you two face?
There were many challenges, but most of all, there were so many rewards. And Jim and I just blossomed in our love for flute making. And we fed off of each other's energy. I think we were so excited. Never knew that we would slowly grow to what we are today, but that too was such a pleasant surprise to watch through the many years. And when you are in love with what you do, I think that all follows. We complemented each other in engineering and creativity, on my side in business and the making aspect, the building, the mechanics, and eventually the management. As we started to grow and add new forces to our team, it was very easy. An important part of, I think, starting any business, whether it's with a friend or a family member, a spouse, a partner, is organization. And we, at the time, this now dates back to 1983, 82, 83, where we formed the business with the help of a very good attorney who set up that organizational structure. Mm-hmm. And once that is in place, and when you're so blindly in love with what you're doing every day, I think that is sometimes passed over. As I speak to groups and encourage young entrepreneurs, that's one of the first things we talk about, is having your organizational structure sound from the beginning, so that as you walk down the road of a career path, you always have that structure to fall back on. And truly, I never knew what we would grow to become. And this was slow and gradual growth for us, not explosive. That has allowed me through the many years to just keep great talent with us and focused on the people and the instruments.
Would you say that either of you were very, business-minded people, or was that also a learning curve, being in this industry versus, in the music industry?
That's a great question. As I entered, I had no business background, and although looking back today, there were opportunities for me to be involved in administration in the early college years, and that seemed to come fairly naturally. as we went along, I was enrolling in courses, evening school through MIT and Harvard University, to get a background in metallurgy, to get the fundamentals of accounting and business management.
Yeah.
But it's the road was learned as we walked down it.
And now you're known as one of the most gifted and talented flute and piccolo makers of all time. Do you ever reflect back then and think what other directions your life could have taken if you went into performance or did go into teaching?
Well, first of all, thank you for the compliment. Second, had I not come down the road of flute making and building a business, if you'd asked me this question 15, 20 years ago, my answer probably would have been the fallback is definitely teaching and freelancing. But now, as in, I would say the last 15 to 20 years, as I am very involved in the entire business community and educating for the career development in the trades. And I think that if it had not been flute making, there probably would have been a different direction in business, as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. It seems like it's a part of your soul, and also innovating too. I feel like that's kind of what you're at the forefront of.
Well, owning my own business, well, I have the opportunity day in and day out to explore, to experiment, to innovate, and find the next new feature for all of us flutists to enjoy.
Where do you get that inspiration from?
That is a little harder question to answer because there's a lot of teamwork here, and I don't ever pretend to take credit for all of the developments we see here at Burkart. There is refining those and perfecting them, I think, is where my talents lie, but I have to pull resources from many sources. Again, we have a fantastic team of people, of flute makers here at Burkart.
And when you were studying and studying performance, you were a student of John Krell. He's the piccolo player in the Philadelphia Orchestra around the 50s through the 80s. He believed that the piccolo was the coloratura soprano of the orchestra, and he was kind of known for this soaring, round piccolo sound. Have you reflected at all about how your studies with him and your time with him might have influenced your own production in piccolos and the characteristics you look for in, the Burkart sound?
For the piccolo, probably yes. I will tell you that my studies with John Krell I never had a piccolo lesson. He never taught a lesson on the piccolo. He never demonstrated for me on the piccolo. His philosophy was practice everything on the flute first and then apply it to the piccolo in performance. And he would practice piccolo exercises to have the embouchure he needed to walk on stage, but he never taught, nor did he rehearse any of his orchestral excerpts on the piccolo. It was always the flute.
That's fascinating.
But I do have to credit my time with him, my love of the piccolo, both in making it and mostly performing, was very much influenced by his playing and his performance in the orchestra, because I was a much better piccolo player than flutist from the beginning.
Well, that's special. I think a lot of people don't feel that way about themselves. And I think you can tell that you love the instrument, and it's reflected in the piccolo itself. It's, I think, one of the finest and most responsive piccolos out there. But yeah, that's kind of fascinating that he wouldn't play piccolo in lessons. Did you at the time wish that he maybe would play piccolo a little bit more for you, or did you just accept?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And I think any student of John's would, in reflecting back, years back, we honored him at NFA. This was his method. It was not unique to me. He practiced on the flute, and he transferred that to the piccolo. he was a very exciting guy to study with. And back to your question about, has it influenced the Burkart sound? It absolutely has. For the piccolo, I want the richest, fullest tone possible. And of course, that is influenced by the way I play. So not all players perform and play with the equipment that I have. We all own our own. So we have to have many styles of head joints and embouchures to accommodate the many needs out there in the community.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes in line with my next question. It goes back to flutes a little bit, but I've heard it said that head joint makers make head joints in their own image. So how do you think your flutes and your head joints reflect you as a musician?
There is one style in our offerings of head joint that is most comfortable for me, that I perform on to my fullest ability, and we call that the Burkart head joint. There are, again, in offerings, players are so different. All are unique, and how we hear our sound as we perform is reflected directly on what we can deliver to our audience. So my best style, let's call it, on the head joint may not at all be yours. There is, I suppose, that the influence of a maker over what they're projecting is what works most for us, and what we're most comfortable with. So we deliver that, and then we expand. I have to have multiple testers in the company because I don't perform my best on several of our offerings. Yet Ethan Lynn and Daniel Carlo, who both work with me, are incredible flutists and piccolo players. They will choose something and play best on another style.
I mean, speaking of people that you work with, and I know both Daniel and Ethan, and they're great. How do you choose people to join your team? They are excellent flutists. Is that kind of a requirement for you to be a stellar performer?
That's another good question. I would say, thinking of the workshop, which is just outside my door, we have a little more than 50% of the makers are flutists, are very accomplished flutists. So in the latter half, as instruments are made, we kind of move them from parts making in our machine shop forward to the first stage of body making, then to the key making, further up. At the very end, as things kind of head forward to the exit here, we have our finishers and head joint makers are completing their tasks. So in choosing employees, because this is such a team effort and the cooperation is foremost, also our kind of vulnerability in accepting critique, because we all work on these instruments which we want to be perfect, but we have to be willing to take critique from the testers, the ultimate quality control, and go back to the workbench to make corrections. So you're without a positive energy spirit in every day to come to work at, there would be chaos and we wouldn't be getting the same results. So in our interview process, whether we're looking for a flutist or a great technician or a jeweler or a sculptor, someone who already has experience in soldering, metalworking, it's the character more than a background. It is the desire to do this type of work and the commitment to high quality that we are interviewing for, that we're searching for. And we've just hired, in the last 5 months, we have added 4 new makers, 2 who have just come out of their master's in flute performance, and had been kind of seeking either acoustic, in one case, acoustic studies as a minor. This is our new head joint, one of our new head joint makers.
Wow.
Another who had sought opportunity throughout their college years to learn a bit about repair, where they could find it in either a college course offering or sitting over the shoulder of their local repair person for some period of time. So that drive is there, and we just have to engage them and give them the training they need to succeed.
Yeah. And also, I kind of want to know what it's like for you in a male dominated industry of flute makers to be a woman leading the helm. And I also want to talk about something else you're proud of, which is the large number of female employees that you have at Burkart. So can you share a little bit about that?
Well, let me start with the latter.
Yeah.
So there are 20 flute makers, and including our machinist, who are presently with us. The ratio, I think, is about, I believe, 7 males to 13 females. Now, there also behind that is the diversity in all ways, not just female versus male, because talent is talent. Whether that talent is, tall, short, green, yellow, is insignificant when it comes to talent, drive, cooperation, energy, collective. Let's forward the company. Let's give the best to our customers, to the end users, and get excited about satisfying the music community. So I love mentoring young women and encouraging them to come into the trades. One of our newest hire in the machine shop, because we operate a full service CNC machining shop that builds the customer is Burkart Flutes. So there we've just made a new hire, a young woman who had started a career in CNC machining and programming. And I think she'll just take right off with us. But it really is talent and a diverse group. We have employees from Brazil, from South Korea, the Dominican Republic, Harvard, Massachusetts, Connecticut, all over the world. And that's exciting, and that brings a lot of richness to the company.
And then what about the former question?
Run that by me again.
Being a woman at the helm of the business in a male-dominated industry.
It has been rare that I've come across obstacles or roadblocks in building this business. When I first joined the Powell Flute Company, the shop at that time, I believe I was not the first, probably the second female to enter a very male-dominated kind of boutique industry. Mm-hmm. That has changed over the years because, for many reasons and many influences, but women have always been, I find, are very agile, very developed with their hand skills and dedication to finish things, to complete things, all the way to the end. Yeah. We have obviously the males that work in this company bring the same talents and attention to detail and focus, but it's really exciting for me to get women encouraged to come into non-traditional female roles. Yeah. The machine shop being one great example there.
Yep. And pivoting a little bit, what's something that you wish that all flutists and piccolo players shopping for a new instrument would take to heart? Is there something that you kind of want everyone out there to think about when they're looking for something new?
Again, great question. And if I were a buyer, I try to put myself in the shoes of a buyer, be it your first step up flute to moving to an intermediate, access to college, conservatory, and beyond in the professional realm. The brand recognition for me, coming from my side as a builder, is not as important, or I would hope is not as significant as the whole package. The whole package meaning serve after service, meaning joining the team, kind of joining the Burkart family, and the follow-up, the sincerity that we bring to a beginning flutist, a 12-year-old flutist, to the great Carol Winsence and Jim Walker who play our instruments. Every person is a special, comes into a unique support system with Burkart flutes. And that goes well beyond opening the case and putting the instrument together, I feel.
That's great. And a little bit unrelated, what do you like to do outside of flute making, running a business, for fun?
For fun. There are many long hours as a flute maker and a business manager. So stress relief is really key for all of us. And in these last few years, I think more important than ever for each and every one of us worldwide. So Lillian is a ceramic artist. I'm a potter, and I have, again, using my handwork, the rewards of building something creative has always driven me. And the other thing I want to tell everyone about, because this is so fun for flute players, I now am playing, just started this summer, playing pickleball. And pickleball, it's a racket sport. For any of you who are not aware of it, is the fastest growing recreational sport in the country, springing up all over the place. And what's great about it is we get that aerobic exercise that we flutists need and often don't get. It is a very lightweight racket so that there's less strain on the joints. There's less impact. And it's a really fun, social game that, at least as played by most, that really does get, and now we've been outside, so that's fantastic. To be able to play was, I think, a rise in the popularity. We can look to being isolated so much for the last couple of years, to that need to be outside, to be able to get fresh air, to have fun and laugh at each other in a sport. So I encourage all flutists and wind players in particularly to find some outlet that gives you that opportunity to de-stress, to get your lungs refreshed and ready to return to the flute every day.
Right, get outside and get outside the practice room.
Get outside the practice room, and most important, to really be able to just have fun and, again, laugh with each other in a sport that can be very competitive, or it can be just fun.
Well, have you gotten everybody there at Burkart to play with you now? Are you
not yet? Although on break time, afternoon break times, we roll out the ping pong table, but I'm very competitive, so I don't go near that. That's their fun time.
Yeah.
But on the pickleball court, not yet. I'm working on it.
Well, thank you again, Lillian. It was really great chatting with you, and it was really a pleasure.
My pleasure too. Thank you. And thank you, Flute Center of New York, for hosting this and for all the wonderful work that you do with Burkart Flutes. I'm very grateful. We all are. And again, Caity, thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Bye.
Bye.